Fire and Ice by Robert Frost. Robert Lee Frost was born on 26 March 1874 in San Francisco, United States. He was an American poet. His work was initially published in England before it was published in America. He was admired for his depictions of the rural life of New England, his command of American colloquial speech, and his realistic verse portraying ordinary people in everyday situations. He died on 29 January 1963 in Boston, United States. The central idea of the poem. The central idea round which the entire poem revolves is that only love, equality, mutual understanding and sympathy for one and all can help in establishing peace on the earth. The poet mentions that both fire and ice can bring probable end to this world. The poet talks about how fire represents desire and can therefore be a cause of the end of the world. He also mentions ice as a second issue to symbolize that the coldness and indifference towards one another will also be enough to bring an end to this world. Too much fire and passion can quickly consume a relationship, while cold indifference and hate can be equally destructive. Now, let me give you a short summary of the poem. In this poem, the poet talks about the two different beliefs regarding the end of this world. He says that he is in the favor of those who say this world will end in fire, as he has seen the effect and result of uncontrolled and unending desires. He finds the human desires same as fire in its nature. On the other hand, the second belief tells that ice is sufficient for destroying this world, and the poet compares the nature of ice with hatred. As ice can make a part of body numb with its prolonged contact like hatred, it can also give numbness to our mind and thoughts and make us insensitive and cruel. The poet brings us into the middle of an argument between people who think the world will come to a fiery end and people who think the world will freeze. He could be talking about the literal end of the world, but he is also talking about the power that human beings have to harm or destroy one another. The poet's experience with romantic desire has taught him that passionate or hot emotions like love and lust would probably have the power to turn the earth into a big fireball. But he has also experienced the other extreme, and he knows that colder emotions like hate have great destructive power. Love gets all the publicity, but hate is the silent killer. It may not have the same grandeur as the fireball ending, but it will do the trick. Let's now read through the poem. Some say the world will end in fire. Some say in ice. Explanation goes, here, the end of the world could mean doom or the apocalypse, as stated in religious texts like the Bible. It could be a celestial happening, as stated by the astronomer mentioned earlier. It could also be a natural calamity happening on Earth itself, volcanoes or forest fires or the Ice Age. It could also mean man-made destruction of the world because of man's greed or animosity, leading to global warming or nuclear war. It also points to the collapsing of the world around a person because of his mistakes, owing to similar reasons. The poet has demarcated the reason of his destruction into two major schools of thought, one in favor of fire and the other in favor of ice. Let's now move to the next line. From what I have tasted of desire, I hold with those who favor fire. But if it had to perish twice. The meaning is, the poet knows what it means to have desires. From his knowledge and experience of his feeling and the havoc it can cause to a person if done in excess, he agrees that desire can be a cause of destruction. Fire is used in reference to the animal tendencies in us. All these emotions are associated with hotness. Here, desire could mean ambitions, aspirations, gluttony, greed, lust, etc. We commit mistakes, or so to say, sins, in running after our desires. We do not see that it can harm other people, animals, plants, or nature if we blindly go after it. Excessive emphasis on desires is what keeps us from experiencing pure joy and bliss. Next line. I think I know enough of hate to say that for destruction, ice is also great. The poet has also experienced negative feelings like hatred himself and also in people around him. He is owning up to have this feeling himself. So we can also say that he is being very honest with us. Hatred is taken to be an ice-cold emotion. It could also be that he has received this emotion from someone and knows what wrong it can do. When you become selfish and think only about yourself, you don't care about anybody else. Let's understand why he has associated hatred with ice and also why destruction by ice is following destruction by fire. You have a fit of rage, which is a hot feeling. Then it keeps smoldering inside you, and finally you become impervious to love. You become indifferent, uncaring, and devoid of positive feelings. Thus, hatred destroys the very humanity in you. If love is lost, everything is lost. And this is a great recipe for an impending disaster. Let's move to the last line. And it would suffice. This line lingers in the mind and makes your hair stand on their ends. It frightens you and makes you shudder to think that the very inadequacies and imperfections in human nature could boomerang on us and lead to our destruction. This poem makes us think deeper about our negativity. It propels us towards introspection. What we can learn from it is that we should strive to keep human values alive. We should keep our desires and hatred in check. Desire can be controlled by being satisfied and happy with what one has. Love for all living beings and nature can be an antidote for the venom of hatred. Let us also discuss the poetic devices used in this poem. First, the rhyme scheme. The rhyme scheme here is ABA, ABC, BCB, with I's repeated twice and also contained within twice suffix. This clever twist in the rhyme means that the initial opening fire gradually fades as the poem progresses, with ice taking over. Metaphor. In the poem, fire and ice are metaphors for desire and hate. In the third line of the poem, the poet has simply implied metaphor in to taste desire. Frost compares desire to food, something which can be tasted. Antithesis. Fire is the antithesis of ice. Symbolism. The poem is all about the two symbols of fire and ice. When the poet associates fire with desire and ice with hate, we know that fire and ice are symbols of human behaviors and emotions. Enjambment. Fire and ice are two destructive elements that can lead to the destruction of this world. This poetic device is used in the last 3 lines of the poem. Let's now discuss the questions and answers of this poem. Question number 1. What do fire and ice stand for according to the poet? Answer. The word fire stands for desire. In the poem, it indicates all types of greed and lust. In today's world, mankind's greed is endangering the very existence of the planet Earth. The word ice in the poem indicates hatred and indifference, which is as cold as ice. Cold indifference and hate can equally be destructive. Question 2. Write down the 2 different views about the end of the world. Answer. There is a debate that is going on about the end of the world. People say that the world will end in fire or ice. The world is transitory. Nothing is permanent in this world. Question 3. Why does the poet hold with those who favor for fire? Answer. The poet takes side of those who believe that the world will be destroyed by fire. He connects fire with desire. According to the poet, desire is powerful and can bring quick end. Moreover, the personal experiences that he had with desire leads him to conclude that the world will end by fire.